Hello everyone and welcome back to TD Fins Talk. I'm glad to be back with you all today. Going forward for the next 2 weeks here on the channel, we will be breaking down our depth chart, each position one by one, and we're going to start out with the offense, but we're not going to start out with quarterback position. We're actually going to start out with the wide receiver position, okay? What we're going to be doing through these next couple of weeks is breaking down every single position, how many players we have at the position, who's going to make the final cut, who's not going to make the final cut, and also are they in our long-term picture to go ahead and hopefully win a Super Bowl pretty soon. So we'll break those down. We'll get into each of their salaries, what their picture looks like, and them as a player as well. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and start out with the Miami Dolphins wide receivers. Now, currently we have 8 wide receivers on our roster, okay? Out of those 8 wide receivers, I'll go ahead and name them for you. We have DeVante Parker, Kenny Stills, Bryce Butler, Isaiah Ford. You also have Jakeem Grant, Albert Wilson, Ricardo Luis, and Reese Horn. 8 wide receivers currently on the roster. Will 8 wide receivers make the final cut? I strongly doubt that, guys. If we're lucky, we'll get 6 on the roster whenever it comes down to the 53-man roster. And that's likely to be pretty accurate. Maybe 6 wide receivers make the cut out of 8. But the Miami Dolphins aren't done yet. They're probably still looking for wide receivers to bring in to compete in camp. Brian Flores has made it clear he doesn't want anyone to feel comfortable with their job. But the truth be told, at the wide receiver position, nobody can be comfortable with their job, even if we brought no one else in, based off of a lot of things that we're going to be talking about over the next few minutes. Now, we'll start out with our veterans. We know DeVante Parker, Kenny Stills, and I'm not going to list Bryce Butler as a veteran on the team. And when I say veteran, I did mean veteran on the team. But he is a veteran in the NFL, about 7 years of experience. So he is included in that. And the reason why I included DeVante Parker, because 5 years in. Anything off of your rookie contract, I consider you a veteran in the NFL. And DeVante Parker is in his 5th year option, which is technically not his rookie contract. It's the option to continue his contract. And then you also have Jakeem Grant, who's tipping towards that, not quite there yet, and Albert Wilson, who is a veteran in the league, and then Reese Horn, who's not. All right, so let's go ahead with the guys who we feel, who I personally feel has the most buzz around him right now, and that's DeVante Parker, okay? We all know who DeVante Parker is. We've lived with DeVante Parker for 4 straight years, and this will be the 5th year that we are with DeVante Parker. Now, the good thing about DeVante Parker, first off, I want to talk about him as a player, okay? And I'm going to be flipping through screens. We're going to be talking about a lot of things here. Let me see. Where's my boy DeVante at? All right, let me go back. There he is. All right. So DeVante Parker, guys, we're talking about a receiver who we drafted and brought a lot of excitement to Miami. We felt that he can be a Randy Moss type caliber player. He hasn't come close to that at all. Let me make sure I'm clear right now before people already start to jump on me. He hasn't become even close to a Randy Moss type figure whatsoever in his career, 4 years in Miami. But the beautiful thing about DeVante Parker is, as a fan of the Miami Dolphins, we've all seen flashes, potential in those moments where he makes those big plays where you're like, he used his strength, he used his athleticism and his big body, big frame to make a huge play, and you just fall in love with it every time it happens. The only issue is it happens it's too few of occurrences where it happens, you know? You'll have a monster game and then you'll have 3 games where it's like, is he still playing? So we know what he could be because he's shown he can do it, but we have never seen consistency from DeVante Parker. A lot of it, people will say, will have a lot to do with his injuries. That's another thing. We've been unable to keep DeVante Parker healthy long enough to see consistent stability at the wide receiver position for him. So that's one thing working against DeVante Parker. Another thing, as of recent, a lot of issues with the coaching staff, that being Adam Gase last year, agent issues where agent came out in the public stating that he simply was unhappy with Adam Gase and basically the Miami Dolphins organization because DeVante Parker was not hurt when Adam Gase constantly on film kept saying that he was hurt and that he was ready to play. At first, even me, TD was saying You know, that's what an agent's supposed to say. But obviously DeVante is hurt. But as soon as that statement came out from the agent, Adam Gase started DeVante Parker the next week, and DeVante Parker had a monster game. I don't know if you all remember it. He had a very big game, catching all type of tough balls, keeping us alive, and it was the DeVante Parker that we just hoped for since he was drafted, and we were excited. Look at DeVante Parker, and it showed us that there's more issues with Adam Gase than DeVante Parker. With that being said, guys, we still never lived out the rest of the season with consistency from DeVante Parker when it was all said and done. But again, we got to see flashes. Coming into this year, the coaching staff, a lot of people could almost guarantee that DeVante Parker was a goner, that we would not pick up his fifth-year option for almost $12 million, guys. And a lot of the Dolphin fans could, even myself, could write off DeVante Parker would not be in a Miami Dolphins uniform next year. And even I said, unless he gave us a hometown discount with a restructured deal that was just friendly upwards of prove it. And lucky enough, the Miami Dolphins actually pulled that off. They were able to bring DeVante Parker in and restructure his deal. Instead of the fifth-year option, we were able to restructure his contract. Let me give you the details, guys. DeVante Parker renegotiated his contract from the Dolphins on March 12th of 2019. That was about 2 months ago, guys. Parker was scheduled to earn $9.387 million in 2019, but there was more than that from signing bonus and things like that that was almost going to make it almost 11 or 12 million. But will now have a 2-year, $10 million contract. Only $4.5 million of the contract is fully guaranteed. The reason why that's important is for several reasons. Number one, that means DeVante Parker has a guaranteed spot on our roster this year. No matter what happens in training camp or in preseason, DeVante Parker is going to be on our roster as a wide receiver guaranteed, because his salary, basically, you can almost say, if we cut him for any reason, we have $4.5 million of dead cap money. And that just wouldn't make any sense. It just wouldn't make any sense, guys, to take that type of cap hit on our salary. And actually to also lose money if we cut him post June 1st anyway. It just wouldn't make sense. So DeVante Parker is going to be on the roster no matter what. So we have one guaranteed solidified receiver as we go through this depth chart. Now, the second year, I love that they signed him on a 2-year deal, and it's a team option with the second year where none of it is fully guaranteed. If he doesn't work out this year, by DeVante Parker, we take no loss going forward whatsoever. And that's taking us out of prison. A lot of our contracts of the past, we've been nothing but in salary cap prison for the Miami Dolphins, as we currently have about 7 or 8 players that's counting for $37 million dead cap money right now. Players that are not on our roster, almost $40 million, guys. Almost $40 million. That shows you how deep in debt that we got ourselves from the past. But I'm glad that this regime has ushered all of those bad contracts out of the Dolphins. And yes, we'll pay for it this year, but it's going to do nothing but look better and better going forward, okay? So the DeVante Parker deal is perfect for us. Let's say that Brian Flores and his coaching staff, O'Leary and everyone, they end up turning DeVante Parker into half of what Randy Moss is. That would be a win for the Miami Dolphins. I wouldn't say half. I would say about 65% of what Randy Moss was. That would be a huge win for the Miami Dolphins, guys. And we would have him for another season under contract for only $5 million, okay? And that's coming in form of $44 million base salary and $500,000 for a roster bonus, okay? Which, if we were to cut him next year, like I said before, we would only lose $5 million. I mean, we wouldn't lose anything. We would save $5 million, excuse me. And that's a huge savings if he doesn't work out, all right? So when I look at DeVante Parker, this is a show me year. That's all the contract was about. You're going to get under our coaching staff. We are not going to judge you off of your past, because we don't believe in the past coaching staffs, how they used you. Plus, you were injury prone, and I don't want to hold that fully against you. You got a fresh start, 1 year, put up or shut up, DeVante Parker, and I love it. So that's a good look for the Miami Dolphins going forward with DeVante Parker. All right, so with that being said, we'll move right along. A moment, let me keep my screen up here. All right, moving right along. Next receiver we're going to talk about is, who do we have? We want to talk about, there you have it, Kenny Stills, ladies and gentlemen. Now, this one's a little more tricky, okay? We all know who Kenny Stills is. We love Kenny Stills. He's great. Man, let's start off with the most important thing above football. He's amazing in the community. He gives back. He puts his, you know, he's not one who just talks about action and change. He puts it in. He puts his work in the community in Miami, guys. All the things that he's been a part of, all the foundations, all the different organizations that he represents and supports, and all of them stand for nothing but great things that can do nothing but help humanity. And I love Kenny Stills for that. So above all, it just reminds me of when I read Kenny Stills' pre-draft summary before he came out, how they actually said he would be an off-the-field concern. Believe it or not, in Kenny Stills' draft summary before he was drafted, the report said that there may be some off-the-field issues and concerns coming into the NFL. And he has lived up to crushing that stigma, and I love it. Congratulations, Kenny. I hope Laramie Tunsil continues to follow in your footsteps in that regards. Just amazing. Thank you for being a great advocate and a great person in the Miami community, all right? Now, Kenny Stills has been a solid receiver for the Miami Dolphins. Even with our quarterback turmoils, our up and downs, Kenny Stills has been the one consistent. There are times, you know, it's not like it's just 10 out of 10 play, but at the end of the day, he has been one of the most consistent players we've had on our roster, and we appreciate him for that. We love Kenny Stills, okay? But with that being said, a few facts about Kenny Stills, okay? First and foremost, Kenny Stills is under contract all the way until 2020, okay? He's under contract for 2019. He's under contract for 2020. So we have him under contract, a good enough time to evaluate should we be giving Kenny Stills his next deal after that. I'm going to tell you the honest truth right now. I personally don't feel like Kenny Stills is in our long-term success. And here's why. Not like he couldn't help us, but here's the issue. Kenny Stills is currently 27 years old. By the time he's no longer under contract for Miami Dolphins, he will be 29 years old. Let's be honest, guys. Wide receivers at the age of 29 years old, it's a huge decision to make. It is a huge decision to make. Do you give him the next deal for 2 or 3 years that'll bring him into his to his 31 or 32 years old? These are the things you have to think about. Not only do you have to think about those things, it's just a simple fact that Kenny Stills' consistent play might work out to not be beneficial for the Miami Dolphins. And I know that may sound crazy to you all. His consistent play may not work out to be beneficial to the Miami Dolphins. And that's like a catch-22, okay? Let me break down what I mean by that, okay? When Kenny Stills came to the Miami Dolphins via trade of the New Orleans Saints in 2017, he was 25 years old. His base salary was just under $2 million with a nice bonus. And that bonus, he basically was making about $3,700,000. That was the cap number, okay? In 2018, last year, Kenny Stills' number jumped drastically because he was coming out for that young rookie deal. He got his new deal, and it came up to just under $8 million a year with the bonus. He got paid $9,750,000 in 2018 last year. So, in other words, he was a $10 million receiver. Just under 10, okay? Is he worth it? Yeah, Kenny Stills is worth it. When you look at the new market for wide receivers, I'm glad we locked him in at $10 million a year at the rate that we get him now, because you look at some other receivers about his caliber, they're getting $12 and $13 million a year. Don't mean it's smart that they should be. It means other teams are overpaying, but from an open market standpoint, that's what Kenny Stills can get. He can get about $12 million a year if a team really wanted him. He's been solid. He hasn't been a liability. And Super Bowl contending teams, instead of looking for that $16 million best receiver, they would rather spend 11 or 12 on Kenny Stills and bring him right in. That's just the reality. I mean, you look at what Jarvis Landry is getting. And many can argue Kenny Stills might be just as valuable as Jarvis Landry. I mean, let's be real here. Let's be real here. You know, so
we're actually getting a huge bargain. And I do mean it. We're getting a huge bargain on Kenny Stills at $9.7 million a year. Okay? This year, he's going to make the exact same amount of money. Okay? Now, on March 17th, $1 million of that base salary already became guaranteed. Okay? Now, here's the thing. Let's just say that Miami Dolphins said, we want to purge these big contracts. We only have 2 more big contracts on our roster, okay? The 2 biggest contracts, let me look it up. The 2 biggest contracts on the Miami Dolphins roster right now is Rashad Jones and Kenny Stills. The next contract under that is almost $2 million. It's almost $2 million less, okay? It's almost $2 million less. Those are the last 2 big contracts on the team. And we've been in a purge mode. Let's purge it out. Let's get rid of all the excess. Rashad Jones, we'll talk about him when we talk about the secondary, okay? And we'll talk about his contract. But Kenny Stills is the second highest paid player on the team, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let's say the Miami Dolphins said, let's continue this purge because Kenny Stills is not in our 3-year window of having our team set and ready to compete for a Super Bowl. That's what I believe. Of course, we're going to go out this year, compete for a Super Bowl. That doesn't matter if we get 0 wins, 3 wins, 6 wins, 9 wins, 12 wins, 16 wins. The mentality is still competing for a Super Bowl. Okay? So everybody with the tanking talk, we're going out to win. Even if we win 0 games, our goal is to go out to win, okay? Now, since he's not in the long-term success, the Miami Dolphins could elect to save money, but the problem is that will not happen this year, and here's why. In 2019, if we cut Kenny Stills, we would have a dead cap hit of $6.5 million. We would take a cap hit of $6.5 million, and we would only save $3.2 million. $3,250,000. Now, why? That's like basically you can have Kenny Stills for $3 million if you just keep him, even though in reality we're paying almost $10 million. But why would we let him go, waste $6.5 million just to save $3.5 when we're going to try to go find a replacement, probably about $5 million or $4 million, or even if it was $3.5, wouldn't you rather have Kenny? It's counterproductive, ladies and gentlemen. So I truly believe unless Kenny Stills is traded, if he's traded, that's a different story. But I truly believe if he's not traded, then the Miami Dolphins will get him and DeVante Parker are 2 that are guaranteed to be on the roster come the start of the season if he's not traded. Now, based off of his salary, he could very well be trade bait. If we traded Kenny Stills, let me see. If we traded Kenny Stills, we would take no loss. We would actually receive, this is crazy, we would actually receive $17.5 million. $1,750,000, okay? That's how much we would save, okay? But we also wouldn't lose any money. We wouldn't have any dead cap, nothing counting against our salary cap. That would be free money. Not only that, we would save $8 million. So let me correct that. We would actually save $8 million. And we would benefit another 1.75 on our salary cap, to elaborate what I'm trying to say, okay? So if we were to trade him, that means not only do we save $8 million and we benefit in that money from a cap space, we get an asset, ladies and gentlemen. And right now, many can argue that Kenny Stills is worth just about what we paid for. Like we can get a third rounder for Kenny. Some of you all may say second, some of you all may say fourth. We can get a third rounder for Kenny Stills. And let me repeat that. Some of you all may say second, some of you all may say fourth. But we can get a third round for Kenny Stills. So imagine the savings and the asset. I'm not opposed to that. Let me say this. I do want Kenny Stills to be on our roster because I love him so much. The issue is, again, when I'm talking about the team that we're constructing now, the only thing that matters to me is the roster we have 3 years from now. And is Kenny Stills going to be on the roster 3 years from now, okay? Let's keep on talking about Kenny Stills before we move on to evaluate why I don't think he's going to be on the roster 3 years from now. In 2020, going into a draft where we have 14 draft picks, ladies and gentlemen, Right now, we got 14 draft picks. And if Kenny Stills is traded, we might have 15. Okay? Man, screen cut out. I got it. We might have 15, okay? Now, I can tell that the Miami Dolphins are probably going to flip a lot of those picks and get a lot of higher picks. We might end up with 2 first-rounders. We might end up with 2 second-rounders. And we might end up with 3 second-rounders and only have 6 picks when it's all said and done. But I think that they're going to start flipping those picks to go higher and higher and higher and get more quality players in the next draft. And I think that's what they're trying to do. Look at the Patriots, what they did this year. They had 7 picks in the first 3 rounds, 6 or 7. That's amazing, guys. So I think we're going to try to do that. And here's the thing with that affects Kenny Stills. If you got 2 first-round picks, and based off of, if you want to listen to everyone else and say we're not going to have many wins, there are going to be some high picks. And those are going to be some 9, 8, 9, 10, 11, $11 million guaranteed contracts. I mean, our next year draft, we might come out spending about $35 to $40 million just on the draft. Usually in a draft, a team spends about $23 million. You know, your first round pick might be about $8 million a year. Your second round pick, and matter of fact, teams might only spend about 20 maybe. You know, but we might actually come out somewhere around a $30 million range. Imagine having 2 first-round picks and you're dedicating about, 18 to 19 million to that? And then you get a second-round picks and you got another 2 second-round picks added on another 6 maybe? I don't know, you know? So we're going to actually have to spend some money in the draft, a small money regardless, but at the end of the day, it's saving money, but with young talent. So I know that they're going to want to bring their salary cap as best as they can because they also want to be players in free agency. So if we're going to be productive, these are things you got to think about. Kenny Stills is going to cost us almost $9 million in 2020. And the issue with that is if we cut him at that time, he's only going to cost us $1.75 million. We've seen players cut and where we owed them 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 million. So, and we'll save $7 million right there. Cutting Kenny Stills would save us one of our first round picks possibly. We'll pay them. So that's why it's hard to believe that he's going to be here long term. Not only that, but again, it goes back to the trade. Trading Kenny Stills and getting a 3rd round pick all plays into our future plans for next year and the year after, 2020 and 2021 from a drafting perspective. So I see him playing this year unless he's traded, or to be quite honest with you guys, Kenny Stills might very well even be traded in the middle of the season. Let's hypothetically say that we do start out 0-6, 1-5, 2-4, you know? The Dolphins, there is no sense to have him on the roster. Let's make sense of this. Miami, and I don't think we're going to start like that, guys. I really do think we're going to be competitive, even with young talent, shocking the league, you know, saying that this young coach is doing a great job, you know, all that stuff. But you cannot phase out if we do. If we do start out 1-6, Kenny Stills has to be on the trade block. We have to grab the asset now. And that's just the reality. He'll be 20. Well, how old is he right now again? Let me see. At the time, Kenny Stills will be 28 years old. If we're losing, he'll be 28 years old. And we want to keep him again for him to turn 29 on a last rebuild year. And then sign him on another deal? Are we going to sign him on a massive deal? And that's the thing as well. You're probably going to lose him anyway. Because if he turns 29 years old, we know good and well we might want to say, hey, Kenny, we love you so much. Let's keep you another 2, 3, or 4 years and pay you an average of $5 or $6 million a year. When somebody, that's why I say he might become a victim of his production, his consistency. Because knowing that we're looking for the future, we don't want to pay a guy like that $10 million a year on another 4-year deal, ladies and gentlemen. And he's going to keep being productive. Somebody else will. And what would be smart of us is to say, given your age, we'll pay you about 4 or 5 a year, maybe 6, because we love you. And it wouldn't be smart to go over that, and he will find that somewhere else. So therefore, if he's not going to be in the long term anyway, because you're not going to give him a 3 or 4 year deal, somebody's going to be dumb enough, and I'm not even going to say dumb enough. He's productive. Somebody who's trying to win now will bring him in and give him a 3-year deal worth 22, 23. It might even be a $20 million deal. And some of y'all may say, well, why wouldn't we do the $20 million a year? Because they're going to guarantee 14 or 15. And we're only going to guarantee maybe 7 or 8 or 9. So, because we can't hold ourselves in prison like we've always done. Kenny Stills may not be long-term, ladies and gentlemen, and he's more likely not to be than he is, all right? Let's move right along. We're done with Kenny Stills. Now, I want to talk about Bryce Butler, guys. Let's talk about Bryce Butler. Before we even get started, I'm going to go ahead and start out by saying Bryce Butler is not in the long-term plans whatsoever, okay? Unless, and that's what we're going to talk about, okay? Let me bring up Bryce Butler. We all know Bryce Butler was acquired last year via trade from the Dallas Cowboys, right? Now, I told you all from day one, Bryce Butler is a guy who isn't elite. He isn't upper level receiver. But you know what? I like him because he comes in and he does his job. He's not going to jump off the screen, give you crazy stats. But when you need him most, Bryce Butler with the 14-yard catch. Yes, thank you. He does his job. He's a workhorse. He's a journeyman. He's an NFL journeyman, ladies and gentlemen. He's been on several teams. I believe about 5 teams already. Dallas Cowboys twice. Now, last year we only played Bryce Butler's salary cap. He had he made $800,000. But the cap number for us was only $325,000. Okay, because again he was via trade. I think the Cowboys ate some of that. Now, the beautiful thing about his contract, he's not even guaranteed to be on the roster this year. We have him under contract. He's on the depth chart right now, which means he may make it to camp and he may make it to preseason. He may make the roster. And if he does make the 53-man roster, we are only going to pay the man $805,000. I like Bryce Butler on the roster for the simple fact that he's all reliable. He's a good veteran in this league. He's 29 years old though, guys. He's on his way, I wouldn't say out, but he's on his way out. He's going to find a contract. He's going to be on rosters as a backup. He's a really good backup. He is not your starter, especially not with this group of wide receivers. He's not starting over DeVante. He's not starting over Kenny, and he does not play the slot. Therefore, he is a solidified backup. Now, I will put an asterisk to say he's not guaranteed to make the roster. Should he make the roster based off of this depth chart? Yes, he should. But at the end of the day, we're ushering in a new era of young talent that we're trying to evaluate. Now, again, it's a coin toss of if he's going to make the roster, because the sad thing is for Bryce Butler is the simple fact that him making the roster is going to be contingent on these young players. If they show enough promise and grit, then he's not going to make the roster. If they show where, okay, they're decent, but you know what? He's better, and of course, if he's better, he's going to make the roster. But at the end of the day, there is an upside factor here because he's 29 years old. By the end of the season, he'll be 30 years old. So, and he's not even guaranteed of a contract this year. The only thing working in his favor is the man makes less than $1 million. And what that, let me see. 0.5%, not even 1% of the salary cap. 0.5%. See, these are the receivers that would be good for teams like Seattle. These are literally these are the receivers that the Seattle Seahawks would want to bring in because of Russell Wilson's contract. These are the receivers that they have to actually potentially have as a third wide receiver and possibly starting some of the games because of Russell Wilson's contract. He's only taken up less than 0.5% of the salary cap. 0.41% of the salary cap. Not even 1%, not even half of a percent. These are the guys that teams like that are stuck with getting because of their salary. And we're technically stuck with getting them too because we have $37 million of dead cap money that we're dealing with right now from Ryan Tannehill, Cam Wake, and others like that. Robert Quinn,
pretty much guys like that. So Bryce Butler, man, I'm not sure. I don't think he's going to be on the roster long term, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, it's pretty much his age. And really, it's going to determine on if one of these young kids comes in and steal his position. But I believe he will make this roster this year because it's a win-win. At the end of the day, look how much we're paying for him. You can't beat it. And a matter of fact, he might even make it long term. That's why I said, will he be here long term? I said no, but unless we're able to sign him on another 2-year deal, giving him like $1.4 million and only $700,000 guaranteed. So that's a win-win, keeps us out of jail on guaranteed money. And then on top of it, it gives us another veteran, reliable receiver just for depth purposes. That's pretty much it. So moving right along, let's talk Isaiah Ford. Isaiah Ford, again, young. The thing about Isaiah Ford, I'm actually sad for the kid, man, because Isaiah Ford, I had a lot of hopes in, out of Virginia Tech, good wide receiver, 6'1", 194 pounds. But the problem is when he came in, he got injured. And that pretty much set him back. And that can only hurt you. The good thing is he was drafted. He was drafted in the 7th round, so he was guaranteed his rookie contract just about. But the thing is, from a salary cap perspective, it's not looking good for him. Let me find him real quick. Let me see, Isaiah Ford. There we go. Oh no, that was Kenny Ford. Let me back up. Isaiah Ford. Where you at, brother? There you go. All right. The thing with his salary cap, Isaiah Ford is actually going to be a $570,000 cap hit this year. And the crazy thing is, it's not guaranteed. If we wanted to cut Isaiah Ford, we can cut him without any dead cap. Let me look at post down. Let me see. Yeah, we wouldn't have any dead money, and he would save us $570,000. Bye-bye. And I know why he's still on the roster, because at the end of the day, he's the young option to compete. You have the Bryce Butlers of the world, but at the same token, he's 29 years old, and Isaiah Ford is 23 years old. So you still want to give the kid a chance. You got the coaches coming in once again, just like DeVante Parker, saying, hey, you were injured at first. We don't want to hold that against you. When you had a chance to solidify yourself, you didn't. Well, before Albert Wilson and Amendola came in, that was your time to show that you belonged, and you didn't. And those guys made you a second thought. They made everyone forget about you. So here's your opportunity to show us what's up. But guys, players like Isaiah Ford, he has to be right now in these voluntary and all that stuff, he has to be the first one in, the last one out. He has to be in the coach's face. What can I be working on? What can I prove to you at camp that I'm better at? Well, that's what it takes for guys like this. Because he's not fighting for a 53-man roster position. He's fighting for reps. He's not even getting second-team reps, ladies and gentlemen. So he has to be. Now the good thing is when you're in the coach's face, you're the first one in and the last one out. When training camp comes, they're gonna give you your shot. They're gonna sit you with that. They're gonna push you up to that second unit and say, "Let me see." And that's your opportunity to say, "I belong on this second unit," if not the first. That's where you gotta shine. You're already working behind though. You're already behind. Another positive for him is he's only taking up 1/3% of the cap space, literally 0.29%, less than 1/3 of 1%. So again, him or Bryce Butler, I'll take Bryce Butler all day because at least Bryce Butler I know can handle playing on a 53-man roster and catch some balls and be a good solid backup to where if you lost one of the starters, you still have a reliable source. It doesn't mean it's gonna jump out the gym and be just whoa. It's still reliable though.
And that's what I'd rather, but Bryce Butler's 29, Isaiah Ford's 23, so come on. I'm rooting for you, kid. Come in and show these guys this offseason. Show them that you belong. I want to see your name rise on that depth chart. I want to see training camp. They talking about the catches you're making, the spectacular things you're doing, how you've improved. Give us something to argue about and fight about whenever it's time to make the 53-man roster. That's what he's going to have to do in order to make it, ladies and gentlemen. But my true, straight-up assessment, he's going to be on the practice squad again. That's my true assessment, okay? He's going to be on the practice squad again, or he just might not even be on the team. Because in the last two guys I'm going to talk about on the receiver position, the last two guys that I talk about, they are the reason that he may not be on the roster. Because again, you let Albert Wilson and Amendola make people forget about you. And now all of a sudden we're bringing in even younger talent that's actually has some playing film or playing things that they've done post-college, and they can pass you up, man. We'll talk about them, guys. But anyway, that's Isaiah Ford. All right, moving along, guys. Let's talk about our next guy on our roster, okay? Let's talk about Jakeem Grant, okay? Now, Jakeem Grant, let me pull up the salary. Where you at, bro? Where you at? There you go, Jakeem. Now, Jakeem Grant's situation is interesting, all right? Now, the Miami Dolphins, all right, in the case. Let me see. All right, yes. Okay, so Jakeem Grant, here's the deal with Grant. Man, I just pulled off of him. Y'all forgive me. Let me see. There you go. All right, clicking too many screens. But anyway, he's 26 years old to start out with, all right? It's a prime time. This is when the players are technically in their prime, okay? 26 years old. Jakeem Grant has done nothing since he's been a Miami Dolphin but show flashes of excitement for the team, speed, that next level burst type guy. And you fall in love with him, 3 years in, coming out of Texas Tech. And another beautiful, so far it's kind of been like a steal for Miami, given the fact that Jakeem Grant, we're only paying him $720,000, and he's only 0.4% of the salary cap. He is undersized though, 5'6" and 165 pounds. Now here's the deal. Brian Flores was the defensive coordinator last year for the Patriots. And I know you all remember Game 4 last year. I'm going to tell you now, I don't think Brian Flores is very high on Jakeem Grant, because a part of Brian Flores' scheme in that Game 4 versus the Patriots was to bump and run these little guys and don't let them get separation in the open field. And boy, did it work. I mean, the Patriots were pushing these guys on the ground. They were doing all this stuff, and Jakeem Grant wasn't holding his own in that game. And it showed badly. It showed bad that that's his only weakness, and I'm not going to say only weakness, but that's a huge weakness for Jakeem Grant. And the saddest thing about his weakness is there's not much he can do to control it. When your size is a weakness, when a bigger nickel or cornerback is on you and they're shoving you to the ground or jamming you at the line and you're not getting off those well because of your size, it's hard to improve in that area. Yes, he can go get stronger, but that's going to make him nothing but bulkier. It's not going to, give him a frame that can challenge those defenders. It's going to be tough. But we know his talent. We know he's a weapon in the open field. So again, that takes great coaching getting him in the open field. But again, I don't think Brian Flores is a fan of those type of guys at all. He rather the Julian Edelmans and Amendolas of the world that has a little more size and height, but just as nifty and shifty that can get the job done. If you watch Edelman and Amendola work, they're scrapping, they're fighting. You know, and they're actually, even if they don't win the battle at the line of scrimmage, it at least allows them to get off the block. Jakeem Grant, oh my God, just go back to game 4 last year versus the Patriots. Enough said, okay? I don't need to elaborate on it. All right? So I think that's working against him. Another thing working against Jakeem Grant, listen, guys, he's coming straight off of an injury. He's coming fresh off of an injury, ladies and gentlemen. It's like, what do you do with that, man? You hope he comes to training camp and he's the same guy, if not better. That's what you do with it, okay? Now, in regards to long term, again, if Jakeem Grant lost a step and doesn't have that explosiveness like he used to from this injury, especially that teams will bump and run him a lot more now because of that injury and they want to test it. If he's any bit slower, these are those guys that Isaiah Ford needs to be coming for right now. These are the guys. And let me tell you why. He's gotten paid, and this is his contract year, ladies and gentlemen. After this, he's up for a deal. And I can tell you now, if Jakeem Grant comes in and shows a new level and plays very well, becomes the Edelman or whatever he becomes, a faster Edelman or something like that in this league, the Miami Dolphins are going to try to sign him during the season. They're going to try to re-up his contract during the season and get a really good deal for him. Jakeem Grant over the 4-year contract span is going to look to make about $2.5 million. So far, he's made about $1.8 million in this NFL. Now, this year, he looks to make $755,000, okay? If we were to cut him and he doesn't survive camp, he's only going to cost our cap $35,000, and we're going to save $720,000. Now, again, not big of a contract. I doubt that'll happen because I know the type of player he is, but it's something to look out for, y'all, because we got to watch Jakeem Grant coming off of this injury. This injury, how he plays post-injury, is going to determine his future. Now, here's another tricky situation with the Jakeem Grant situation. If he comes in right away, didn't lose a step, he balls out, we're up for a scary moment because he's a free agent next season. And if we don't secure a deal during the season, which we hope that we do, and hopefully it's early on. See, Jakeem Grant's the type of player that you see him in preseason, in training camp, and you recognize right then and there. You recognize right then and there. Is he the same guy or better, or is he not? If he's not, let's evaluate him up to week 8 and determine. But if he is that guy in week 7, in preseason or training camp, and you see it, oh, he didn't lose a step. Look at him catching these crazy balls. Look at him blowing past everybody. Look at, hey, he's improved in getting off the block. Come on. Come on. How old is he? Let me go back. How old is he? 26 years old. You got to go ahead and give him his 4-year deal now. That's what he's worked hard for. That's what he's earned. And coming off of an injury and no team getting to see him prove it. No team getting to see him prove it, okay? This is when you get your bargain. This is when you say, Jakeem, tell your agent to come on in the office. We want to talk. You know what? We've seen enough already. We want to lock you down for 4 years. We want to give you a 4-year, $20 million deal. Do you know the kind of steal that would be? If he can, guys, I don't care if he gives us 2.5 years of that type of play. That's a steal. 4 years, $20 million, and you got your guy, your slot type guy, your jet sweep type guy, for 4 years locked down for $20 million, $5 million per year. Truth be told, depending on how much you guarantee, you might even be able to do a 4-year, $17 million, and guarantee like 12. Because you're doing it before the season of him coming off of an injury. Now his agent's gonna sit him down and say, you're gonna finally get you some millions, you know, because we already know rookie like you done already spent some of that money securing some of your debt, you know, helping your family, helping yourself, getting you a little home or whatever it may be. I mean, it ain't like you got money sitting in the bank that's like crazy. But now this will be your first decent deal that you've earned. Let me see something. Yeah, and yes, okay. He was, of course. Yeah, he was drafted, but let me make sure I get this correct. 6th round, yes. You were a 6th round pick. Man, they're trying to give you $4 million a year. I mean, $4.25 million a year, 4 years, and they're guaranteeing 12 of it. Now you can play a whole season, and if you ball out, you can go out there and get 6, 7, maybe even 8, depending on how well you do. Maybe even, man. But what if you get hurt again? You're not worth nothing again. You're gonna struggle to get a really great deal. You're gonna struggle to get a really great deal. You're gonna see, this is where you have the leverage, Miami. This is where you have the leverage. He's gonna struggle to get a deal. You're coming off of an injury. You're feeling it, but do you want to risk going through the whole season? This is where teams win. If you take advantage of moments like this, do you want to risk going through a whole season coming off of an injury? Do you want to take that risk? Because if you get hurt again and you're out for the rest of the season, next offseason, the Dolphins may not sign you. And then whoever does sign you, they might offer you a show me contract, 2-year, $4 million, and may not guarantee none of it. Got to make the team. I don't know. So this is where the Dolphins have leverage to lock a real solid weapon down for 4 years off of a rookie contract. And this is what you call keeping your talent that you draft, ladies and gentlemen. This is what it, now all of this is contingent on he's the same guy or even better. All that's what it's contingent on. So don't get me twisted. If he ain't turning out to be the same guy better, then hey, let's evaluate him, and in week 8 we'll talk to him. And a matter of fact, we could play with him now. Say we start 1-8. Now we can start cutting some of his playing time and don't even make him look appealing, and we can still evaluate. Hey, that's what it takes. We don't want him to look appealing to other teams. We already losing, but we ain't seen enough to sign him on that kind of deal. So let's wait to week 8, and we can restrict his playing time, so other people can't get a sense of what he can be or what he is. But we can still evaluate it. This injury, see if it's getting stronger if it didn't look great in training camp. How is he progressing through the season? You know, we're on the plus side of this whole situation with Jakeem Grant. If we lose out on Jakeem Grant and he's balling out in preseason, that's shame on us. All right? Now, is he in the long term? I can't even answer it because it depends on how he looks preseason or in the middle of the season. And we'll reevaluate him as time goes, guys. But we'll move right along, all right? Now, here we go. The next receiver, we only got 3 more. The next one is none other than, I believe, Albert Wilson. Yes, Albert Wilson, ladies and gentlemen. Albert Wilson came out of Georgia State. I love Albert Wilson, by the way. Let me get that straight now. The thing with Albert Wilson is this. He's 26 years old, just like Jakeem Grant, same situation. That's why I love the situation we're in. Same situation, coming off of an injury, okay? Was more explosive than Jakeem Grant, but a similar type player, just a little taller, okay? He's 5'9", I think he's a little taller. I know he weighs more for sure, okay? 5 seasons in the NFL. The beauty of him, he was undrafted to the Chiefs. Wasn't even drafted, ladies and gentlemen. The tough part of it is Albert Wilson's getting paid now. He's getting paid now. He got off his rookie contract, and then the Miami Dolphins gave him his first actual real deal. So we got to benefit from this by getting him last year, but the deal is in 2018, we only had to pay him almost $5 million, $4,833,000. His roster bonus was most of it, $2.7 million, and his base salary was only $790,000, just like somewhat like Jakeem Grant. But the roster bonus is where he got paid. Now, this year, Albert Wilson is going to get paid $8.333 million. He's our third highest player on the roster. And I'm not knocking him. You show how I told y'all Kenny Stills is a steal on today's market? Technically, pre-injury Albert Wilson would be a steal on today's market. Pre-injury. Remember I said that, okay? And he's going to be on this roster this year, no matter what. Because if we cut him, he brings dead cap of more than he's making, $9.641 million. He's going to be on this roster. He's guaranteed this year. Lucky him, right? And if we actually would lose money we won't have a savings. It'll actually be a loss if we cut him a $1.3 million of real cash, okay? And dead cap of 9.6. Now, let's just automatically, he's going to be on this roster. Now, same as Kenny Stills though, guys. If he's traded right now, his value is about a 4th to 5th round because he's coming off an injury, but a weapon. I don't like the idea of trading him because unlike Kenny Stills, 29, he is 26 years old. So I don't like that idea. All right. Let me see what his money will look like if we do trade him. Post June 1st trade. Yeah, we'll be saving all that money. All right. Now, I don't like a trade scenario, but here's where the issue comes. If we don't trade him, which we're not, I doubt it, 2020, going into 2020, he's only a $1.333 million cap hit, which is beneficial to us. If we cut him, we only got a cap hit of 1.3. And we save $9.5 million. And he'll be 27 at the time. So he's in a contract year, y'all. Not next year, which is he's in a contract year this year. Because we can cut him after this year and cut ties and only lose $1.3 million. So he has to prove himself as well. Do y'all see our receiver core? We're not in prison for anyone. Yeah, this year is maybe 2 of those guys we gotta have because of the money, but we're not in prison long term anymore at the receiver position at all. We gotta make a decision this year on all these guys, just about. All of them, and I love it. And he's another situation, y'all, where you bring him in the preseason and you say, Albert Wilson, if you come into preseason looking like the same guy or even better, he's a case where he doesn't get his new deal. Because Grant we can cut right now if he looks like a bum. Albert Wilson we can't. So he doesn't get a new deal, but he restructures. And the thing is, he's not gonna miss up on his, what is he making this year? $8.3 million? So like Jakeem Grant, where you might be able to do a 4 years, $17 million maybe? To reward him, if you ask me, and play it safe just in case. Albert Wilson is one where you bring in and try to offer him a 4-year deal, where you're talking about, hey, let's go ahead and give you a 4-year deal, and we're talking about roughly about $24 million. That's about $6 million a year coming off of an injury. Or do you want to take the chance and play this year? And then if you get hurt again, now you're going to average around $3 million coming off of an injury anyway. Which you might get and you're not going to get a 4-year deal coming off of an injury. And we can play the same game with him. If he looks okay, but let's see him through the first 8 games, restrict this play and play it by ear. Be on the upside of this contract negotiation. And if he restructures, it's going to help our salary cap this year. Instead of paying $8.3 million, it's going to be an average of $6 million a year, and he's going to hit us for $6 million this year. And all that dead cap is gone. And then a player like that, you would have to guarantee probably around $14 million of the deal.
maybe, let me say, he'll probably need $15 million guaranteed because he's gonna want 2 years guaranteed because otherwise it's not worth it. He would rather take his 8.3 this year, and then if he balls out, he can go get another 5 per, 6 per, 7 per, or if he balls out, he's gonna get a larger payday. The only reason we're getting a discount is because he don't want to take the chance of getting injured in a year and then his value goes down for free agency. So why not lock in a decent, good deal now? That's the key, y'all. Now, some of these players might gamble on themselves, but coming off of that kind of injury, we have the upper hand and we got to take advantage of it. Because that way we won't deal with paying him almost $11 million in 2020 if we wanted to keep him that bad. Because we'll be in the same situation if he hits free agency and we still wanted to keep him. He's going to say, well, pay me my $11 million. If not, you see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, this is an opportunity just like Jakeem Grant, where he writes his own ship, but we have the upper hand of getting a good value deal for him and on a long-term deal. And I'm not, I'm giving these contracts out the way that I'm saying it. It might even be 4 year. Jakeem Grant's might be 4 year, $23 million. They might feel comfortable with them where they want to reward him a little more. It's still a steal, ladies and gentlemen. It's still a steal if they see the same player. And Wilson might be 4 years, $27 million, and they might reward him more, and that ain't even bad. It's still a steal, but you got to use that injury they're coming off of and securing a year before deal that gives them more guaranteed money and life in this NFL. You got to take advantage of them and offer those lower numbers that I said because it might get done. It might get done, and that's where you're winning, man. It's where you're winning. It's when your team got a whole bunch of no names, but they all 8s. You see what I'm saying? They're all 8s at a low price. Because you kept them. This is how you keep your young talent. Not overpaying for them. You take advantage of the contract situation. You take advantage of it. Matter of fact, if the Dolphins were smart, they would have had Xavier Howard sitting down in their office while he was out on the injury talking about a restructured deal. Not when he came back and made the Pro Bowl. You see what I mean? Before they elected him to the Pro Bowl, you should have been talking about the new deal when he was sitting in that office hurt. But again, you wanted to see what he looked like after. I get that too. But his situation's in a worse situation. We'll talk about him another time. All right, moving right along, guys. To finish this off, we got 2 more receivers that we want to talk about. Let's see. But Albert Wilson and Jakeem Grant can be in our long-term plan. It just depends on camp. So we got the upper hand on these contracts though, guys. That's what I want to get across to you all, the contract situations. We have the upper hand. Now, the last 2 I want to talk about are, the first one I want to talk about Ricardo Luis, okay? Ricardo Luis. Let's talk about Ricardo, okay? Out of Auburn, receiver out of Auburn, 215 pounds, 6'2", a good big receiver, like his size, okay? Drafted out of for Cleveland back in 2016. Now, let's talk about this kid, okay? The Miami Dolphins took a chance on this contract, but I don't mind it. I like it, okay? He's a former 4th round pick. You got to give him some respect for that. A wide receiver in the 4th round, there's a respect level there, okay? 114th overall to the Cleveland Browns, and that was in the 2016 NFL Draft. Now, guys, this guy haven't even seen a game yet. Drafted in 2016 and ain't even played yet. Let's talk about him, okay? He signed his 4-year deal worth $2.9 million. Signing bonus almost $600,000. But listen, in practice on August 13th before the season started, he got a hamstring injury and didn't play his entire first year in 2016. Out for the rest of the season. Wow, rookie, downhill. But he's a 4th round pick. Y'all may say, well, Isaiah Ford got hurt his rookie year, right, TD? Yeah, but Isaiah Ford 7th round. He's a 4th rounder, okay? Now, in 2018, he changed his number from 80 to 15. So he played 2017. He got a few stats.
45 receptions, 562 yards. When I say he ain't been on the field, he barely been on the field, okay? He got 45 receptions in one season, 562 yards. Honestly, that was his rookie year. And to be quite honest with you, a 4th round pick on a rookie, kind of your second year, but a rookie year, 45 receptions, 562 yards is not bad. Almost 600 yards. And that's promise, being a young player in this league. So at the end of the day, he actually has some experience in the NFL. The problem is in 2018, July 25th, during the summer, he basically was ruled out for the rest of the season with a neck injury. So he didn't even play last year. In April of this year, they went ahead and cut him because y'all already know what's going on in Cleveland. They probably would have kept him, but they got all those weapons now, those receivers that they brought in, they had to make room. So this is actually might be a steal for Miami if the injuries don't become a lingering issue for him. So this might be interesting, running a 4-4-3. Guys, we got to look out for this one. We have to look out for this this pickup for the Miami Dolphins. I'm actually a little bit excited about the Ricardo Lewis pickup because he might turn out to be a really good option for us, someone who we can actually save money on and actually do a good job. So we're going to keep an eye out on him. Let me pull up the salary for him. Let me see. One moment. Ricardo Lewis, there he is. So his contract situation is he's 24 years old, all right? He's due to make $645,000 this year, nothing guaranteed. So he does have to make the roster, but he is 25 years old. He's actually a year younger than Albert Wilson and Jakeem Grant. So guys, keep an eye out for this pick right here, this pickup. This might turn out to be something if he doesn't have any major injuries or anything like that. One of them was a neck and one of them was I forgot what they were again. Let me see. One of the injuries was a neck injury. The other injury was his hamstring. So 2 different related injuries. Not worried about the hamstring. I'm sure he came back after that. He put up 45 receptions, 562, so I get rid of the hamstring. That means he still performed well, but the neck injury is the one you gotta watch for. You gotta watch for the neck injury. Let's see what he does in training camp, but he might actually become a name in Miami that might actually be on the roster for time to come, guys. So just keep your eye out on it, and this is another Bryce Butler pickup type situation. This is why I say Bryce Butler's future on this roster is solely going to depend on these young guys, and this is one of them, all right? The next guy we want to talk about, and again, if he comes back in preseason, same thing, we got the benefit. If he's in preseason and he's showing these guys, oh, I belong, don't worry. Let's say he's just as good as Albert Wilson or Jakeem Grant. I'm just saying, I'm not saying he is, but I'm going to tell you what, if he had 45 receptions in a season with 562 yards, he's no bum. He's not one of those 28 reception guys, 260-yard guys. We talk about a first-year player after an injury. I mean, basically his second year, but a rookie year because he never saw the field, and he put up 45, 562. Then people can scar at that, but that ain't bad. That's actually pretty productive. As a first-year guy, not being in the first string and they giving you reps with all your quarterbacks issues y'all were going through too. Hey, I'm gonna look up more on this kid, man. I gotta get the ins and outs and see what I think when I look at the film. I haven't even seen the film yet, y'all, but I'm gonna check him out. I have to now. So my thing is, because he runs a 4-3, y'all. Okay, let's get that straight. He run a 4-4, excuse me. He runs a 4-4. So if he running a 4-4, if this man come in looking like a Jakeem Grant or Albert Wilson, and nobody can sit here and say he ain't got the potential, because he run a 4-4, and he's 6'2", bigger than both of them. Man, 215 pounds, got the size you need too. Listen, if he come in looking as good as those guys, bingo. Now you're talking about, hey, right now in training camp, we want to sign you on a 4-year deal. 4-year deal. We want to go ahead and give you 4 years, what, $14 million? Because look at his situation. You've had 2 major injuries and basically your rookie contract was nothing. Your whole rookie contract, you did nothing pretty much. You had a hamstring. You had a neck injury, dude. Yeah, I see what you're doing on that field, but hey, you want to go through this season and try to get a new deal after? Because we really can restrict your play. We got DeVante Parker who's going to start. We got Kenny Stills who's going to start. You got a chance right now to be locked down long term. He'd be crazy to say, nah, I'm going to ball out this year and then I'm going to get my contract. That ain't happening, ladies and gentlemen. If this kid, now this is all if he does come into training camp looking as good as Jakeem Grant and Albert Wilson, and they all still looking good. Oh my gosh, this might be the steal of this, guys. This might be the steal of the offseason that nobody's paying attention to. Ain't nobody talking about no Ricardo. Ain't nobody talking about Ricardo Lewis. Y'all better keep an eye on this move. He run a 4-4. He run his 4-4. So at the end of the day, y'all, let's keep it 100, all right? This is a big pickup potentially. So I'm gonna keep my eyes on it, all right? All right, before we get out of here, let's talk about the very last receiver on the depth chart that we want to talk about. And that is going to be Reese Horn, ladies and gentlemen. Now, let me go ahead and pull up Reese Horn, all right? Reese Horn is 26 years old. Let me see, I had some information. All right, Reese Horn is 26 years old, all right? He used to, play for the Titans. And then with his short stint with the Titans, he ended up going to the AAF, okay? Now the Alliance, I'm saying Alliance or whatever. Gosh, I don't know why I forgot the name and my memory is not serving me right now. Let me see. 28 receptions, 429 yards over 7 games though. I was just about to say, oh, well, that's all. The other guy had more, but this is over 7 games. Now, I know it's the AAF, but at the end of the day, the Dolphins got some film on him. Obviously, they like his hands, they like his eyes, and they like his feet. Another threat for the future, ladies and gentlemen. It's as simple as that. And then he signed a contract with the Miami Dolphins that's worth 2 years, $1,080,000. $495,000 this year and $585,000 next year, and none of it is guaranteed. None of it is guaranteed. So therefore, he can be cut this offseason if they have to. I mean, they can cut him this summer if it don't work out. So this is a zero risk, high reward type situation. So I'm looking at it as the Miami Dolphins have brought in a lot of insurance for Jakeem Grant and Albert Wilson, depending on how they do. That's all this is. The last few guys that I mentioned is nothing but insurance for Jakeem Grant and Albert Wilson, but great insurance, man. Great insurance. I love what we've done with this receiving core. So, and that's the last guy, man. And he's only taking up 25% of 1%. 0.25% of the full salary cap. And another guy that, once again, if he works out this year and all of a sudden he shows this, that, and this, you can sign on an early deal. The Miami Dolphins state of the wide receiver position right now is very healthy. It's very healthy. And not only is it very healthy, but if I was to give it a grade, the Miami Dolphins wide receiver core, see, I don't do all that talent, or you got a 10-rated receiver. No. The grade I give the Miami Dolphins receiving core right now is a B+. B+. A B+, ladies and gentlemen. I love it. Whole bunch of weapons, a whole bunch of options, a whole bunch of hopefuls. And what I mean by that, out of all 3 of those new guys I mentioned, plus Albert Wilson, Jakeem Grant coming off of an injury, 5 guys, all you need to do is hit on 2. And then you got insurance that's a lot cheaper, and you can get a lot cheaper long term. So what if you hit on 1 or 2 of those guys? Oh my gosh. We're very healthy at the position right now. I don't care about these people that say, oh, y'all ain't got no number 1, this, that, and this. What are you? Y'all know what you're talking about. Tell me the last time the Patriots had a number 1. You don't need it. You just need 8s across the board. Kenny Stills is an 8.5. DeVante Parker, if they utilize him the right way, is like a 7.5 and could be better. Could be your solid 8, if not better. Jakeem Grant is an 8.
at his, what we're used to for Jakeem Grant. We got to see after his injury. Albert Wilson is an 8.2. All these young guys are like 6s, 6.5s with potentials to be 7s this year. And if they show that, we got decisions to make. The receiving core is healthy, and I give it a B+. I give it a B+. And I like that going into this season. That's a win for the Miami Dolphins, ladies and gentlemen. That's our receiving core. That's my thoughts on our receivers. This is TD Fans Talk. Guys, we're looking good at the position. Y'all let me know in the comment section what position you want me to do next. I'll check it later on, and then I'll work on that tomorrow and post it for you. But if you don't pick a position, I'll pick one. But we're going to go through the whole roster a day at a time, each position. When we're done with the receiver position, and I'm happy where we are, and the options the team have, and the fact that we're not stuck with anything. Good win for the Miami Dolphins, guys. This is TD Fans Talk. Thank you for tuning in to the channel. Make sure you subscribe, show your love, show your support, share the videos. Guys, it's time to get to rolling. We're getting closer and closer to football season. I'm excited. I hope you are. This is TD Fans Talk. I'm out, man. Peace.